We have all been there, scrolling through TikTok, trying to find the next piece of mindless entertainment to satiate the next 20 seconds of our lives, and you see it. A Family Guy clip on top, and some weird auto-runner mobile game on the bottom. This latest TikTok meta has been a near universal experience on the platform, with just about everyone using the Clock app finding themselves watching Family Guy far more frequently than they had earlier this year. But why does Family Guy, a show that, while popular in its heyday, recently has been nothing but virtually lambasted by everyone who calls themselves a media critic, work so well on TikTok? With videos that feature clips of the animated sitcom often finding themselves consistently landing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of views. Well, it all has to do with one aspect of the series that has turned many critics off of the show itself: the use of the cutaway. We all know what I'm talking about, that style of joke writing that follows the basic formula of, "This is just like when X did Y at Z," and then you plug in the variables of the equation like an animation domination themed Mad Libs. A large critique of Family Guy has always been its reliance on these cutaway jokes, many viewing this non sequitur humor as cheap in comparison to its animated sitcom competition. And an over-reliance on this sense of humor, these jokes that didn't factor into the larger focus of the episode and were only there as little comedic animated vignettes that the main cast would throw to, led to what a lot of people would call the downfall of Family Guy. With the series' focus slowly fading from a politically incorrect play on the modern family sitcom into more of an animated sketch comedy with a story loosely tying together the individual bits. And despite the show's outspoken and noticeable decline in quality, I think this is something that Family Guy has always done well. Over time, characters became flanderized, bitter, and spite-filled versions of themselves, and relationships once full of love transitioned to the hollow ball and chain style of marriage, but those cutaway gags were always fun as gags. If nothing else, then in a turn your brain off and laugh at how obscene it is kind of way. And well, that's exactly why Family Guy clips work so well on TikTok. The overall plot lines of most Family Guy episodes, at least in the modern day, are vapid and inconsistent, to put it lightly. Most plot lines don't have lasting consequences, character relationships can change at a moment's notice, and the individual through lines of each episode either aren't there or don't matter in comparison to the jokes being told. You don't need to know anything about the world of Quahog to understand an episode of Family Guy, especially since the actual Griffin family backdrop isn't even really what a lot of people like about Family Guy in its modern state. It's these little gags that they spruce in that are oftentimes completely unrelated to the problems that Peter and friends are dealing with in that episode. And because these gags are so unrelated, someone can just clip the gag, post it on the internet, and maybe leave a little hook on the end of the actual episode for people to click onto their page. A lot of the battle in modern day internet video delivery is fought on two fronts: engagement and watch time. But with a half-decent video editor knowing when and what specifically to cut, most of these Family Guy clips end up having a pretty succinct beginning, middle, and end, enticing viewers to watch the entire clip, or at least most of it. And then you have to factor in the mobile game footage also playing at the bottom of most of these TikToks. A lot of these games have the same core principle of trying to guide something to a favorable outcome, but there are a lot of these games, and they all have different motives. So not only are you drawn into watching a Family Guy clip due to the nature of how that show is written, but you're trying to figure out what this game is, what the objective is there multiple ways to get a good score, are they playing it good, what happens when they reach the end? It creates a landscape full of different things to keep you watching, and by doing so, creates a lightning in a bottle moment for the short attention spans of Gen Z bred by the creation of stuff like TikTok. This format is popular for a reason. Sub out Family Guy for literally any show, and sub out the game for soap cutting, pipe repair, paint mixing, I've even seen car crashes. But there is no more iconic duo than Family Guy and weird-ass mobile games. And the best, yet simultaneously weirdest part of this all is that it's bringing Family Guy back into cultural relevance once again. Family Guy was at its best when it was a goofy, satirical comedy with a heartfelt, if irreverent core in its cast. And well, it hasn't been that for a while, but in my opinion, Family Guy at its second best is when it just drops all self-seriousness and cohesion to score a cheap, silly, brainless laugh out of the audience. Obviously, for general audiences, a 22-minute episode consisting of mostly jokes like that wears thin. But these same jokes cut into oftentimes less than 1-minute clips. It's a match made in heaven. Combine that with clips of video games that are usually just as, if not more absurd than the funnies given to you by Seth MacFarlane, and you have a perfect hook, line, and sinker for internet content in today's landscape. Content that naturally generates a high watch time and encourages people to watch a part 2 with people wanting to finish the story that was presented to them in that clip. Content that encourages engagement due to the out-of-pocket and sometimes downright offensive nature of modern Family Guy, boosting the poster's algorithmic potential. And content that promotes Family Guy and its shareability, its clippability, its memeability, whatever other internet buzzwords you want to use. And through these, the most important aspect comes into play. It gets people talking. Throughout all of this, Family Guy has reignited itself a space in the cultural zeitgeist of the internet. The amount of times that I have started a sentence with, "Have you seen the Family Guy bit where they blank to someone that I am hanging out with?" has skyrocketed in recent months. From what felt like universal acclaim to pretty much the opposite to a new wave of ironic Gen Z enjoyment, Family Guy has found itself back climbing towards the top of the totem pole yet again. And a lot of that familiar, but until recently all too distant fondness for the series has come from its new, or more likely returning audience on TikTok. And whether or not you agree with this new wave of internet content, preying on attention spans that grow shorter and shorter, videos that need as much action in them as possible to retain watch time, there is one thing to be gleaned from all of this, and that is that Family Guy was way ahead of its time. See ya.